Hello, friends. Welcome to the Nope Coach podcast. This is episode 336, Shame Spiral. I'm your host, Suzanne Kohlberg. So in my last episode, 335, I talked about I don't like your eyebrows. And it was when you receive unsolicited feedback, comments, suggestions, and when it's from people who are well-meaning. Like there are trolls and haters and people on the internet who I swear get off on just making people feel shit about themselves. But there are also people who are genuine and well-meaning in their, I can't read your font. I don't like that color. Could you speak slower? I don't understand the way you pronounce this. Uh, so many things. So many things. So if you haven't caught that episode after this one, scroll back and listen to the previous one. So on the back of that episode, what I wanted to talk about today is the shame spiral. When, we as creators, business owners, people who make stuff and put it out on the internet, or just in our day-to-day lives, when we share something that perhaps originally we're excited about and it isn't received in the way that we thought, how we can end up on a shame spiral. I have an example of this. So my book, The Beginning is Shit. Best way to search it up, actually, go to my website, suzannekohlberg.com, click on book. You can read the first 2 chapters for free. The example I'm going to give of a shame spiral is from the 2nd chapter. So you don't even need to buy the book. You can just click on it and read it there. But there are links to Amazon and other places if you do so choose to purchase it. But here is and also this has got nothing to do with business. This was in 92, so I was 8 years old when this happened. So it's Friday afternoon. Oh, I'm just reading an excerpt from the book in case I wasn't clear. It's Friday afternoon. Your assignment is to create a poster displaying your full name, height, weight, and your favorite hobbies. Make a start over the weekend and we'll measure your height and weight in class next week to finish it off, says Mrs. King. She gives us a piece of A3 paper to roll up and take home. As I walk to my dad's work after school, I dream up all the ways I can make this poster. I think about the glitter and the textures I have at home, what I can put down as my hobbies. As an 8-year-old, I've been reading for a couple of years and I love it, so drawing a book is a given. I also love photography. Perhaps I can take some photos to include. I explain the project to Dad and ask if we can take some photos to use. That night, we take some photos of me in the sunset and pictures of views from our house. He prints them out for me the next morning at work. Saturday afternoon, I spend a wonderful time creating the poster with Dad. He encourages me to map out everything in pencil first. Then we glue down the photos and erase the pencil to write in Texter. That's Sharpie for anyone in the US, because people ask me, but anyway, I digressed. I leave blank spaces to enter my weight and height. On Monday morning, I proudly enter the classroom carrying my poster. It's sensational. Quite a few of the other kids have done nothing and are hurriedly scribbling on their posters. A boy at my desk looks down at my poster and snidely remarks, "Your photos are stupid. Who do you think you are, a model?" It feels like a punch in the gut. Moments ago, I've been so proud of my poster, and now I feel a sense of dread. I try to hunch forward and cover my poster as much as I can. Another boy pipes up and says, "And what's with all that glitter? What are you, 4?" I slump even further forward and try desperately to cover my poster. Can I ask the teacher for another? You can read the rest of the chapter on my website, as I said, but this is the example of a shame spiral. I was so excited. This was over 30 years ago, and I can still remember it like it was yesterday. The concept and, it's like, I love photos, I love books, I love glitter. The time spent with my dad, I still remember that. Planning it, mapping it, doing it in pencil, going it over. And then to take it to school and being like, who do you think you are, a model? What's with that glitter? Are you 4? That creeping feeling like that. I don't know if I'm going red for those of you watching on YouTube, just talking about this, like that rush of despair that happens when you're like, oh no, I something that I not that long ago been so proud of and so excited about, I have this feeling of dread. It's kind of like I'm an introvert, like one of these let's go around the room situations, especially if you're like one of the first people and you think you got the assignment. So you're like talking and sharing and whatever. And then the next person goes and the next person goes and you realize either you totally didn't get the assignment at all, or you've just overshared, or, the shame spiral, the vulnerability hangover. Like we all have this. depending on what you do for a living. And as an adult, like, my business is run completely online. If I share something, how part of the way I overcome the shame spiral now is I'm like, I can always just delete it. Yes, there's a part of me in the back of my mind going, nothing's ever really deleted off the internet. Like, somebody could have taken a screen grab, or, it will forever be there. But, you know, there isn't a lot that we can't, get rid of. Or there are times where you can take what has happened to you and you can you become stronger of it. I'm thinking of, there are stars and there are people who have been like, publicly humiliated, or something has happened to them, has been turned into a GIF or something, and they've totally owned it. And who have they become as a result of that? Like, the shame spirals, it happens to everyone. We all have moments where we're like, oh my gosh, I spoke too much, or I missed the point, or I was really excited about something that nobody else was excited about. It's easier as an adult than as a child or as a teenager. Like, I'm just trying to think of, like, there could be an actor or a singer or a show that you really love, and then you're like talking about it and, really excited, and then nobody else likes that and they all just shoot it down. Do you then also shoot it down and pretend that you don't like it anymore? Or do you just let your freak flag fly and go like, I'm really into this? I've never been one to watch a lot of reality TV, Bachelor, Married at First Sight, those kind of things never really interested me. But in the last year or so, I have just really enjoyed the mind-numbing aspect of that. Like, I can do it while I do my diamond dot, which is lazy person's cross stitch. I can half pay attention, and it's just, it's mind-numbing. I don't need to think. So I enjoy that. And sometimes, I'll say something and somebody will be like, oh, you watch that trash or whatever. And I'll be like, yeah, and I love it. I don't have a shame spiral anymore. But there will be times where, you create something, you put effort into something. It could be a podcast, it could be a blog article, it could be a book. And also sometimes depending how much time and effort you've put into it. Like, if I post one episode of this show and someone takes offense or whatever, there's 334 others. I'm like, yeah, maybe this one doesn't float your boat. But something that you've put a lot of effort into, like you've created a book. Like, it took me a couple of years to write my book, and then you put it out there. I remember I got one review on my book. Oh, I can't remember the exact writing of it, but it was kind of like, someone's like, oh, I thought it would be funny. And, and they gave me like a 1 or a 2-star rating. And for a moment, I had a bit of a shame spiral. And then I was like, I'm a real author now. Like, if you only ever have 5-star reviews and everybody raving about you, chances are not many people have read your stuff. There are people who aren't going to like you fundamentally for whatever reason. And it says so much more about them than you. And it's separating who you are as a person and the effort you've put in and how you feel about what you've created versus people's responses to it. Thinking back to the example I read from my book of my poster when I was a child, the boys who said, do you think you're a model? What's with all that glitter? Some of them hadn't done anything. Like, over the weekend, they probably hadn't even taken their piece of paper home. Perhaps they felt bad that they hadn't done any effort towards it, so it was easier to tear into someone else's. Perhaps they really did think it was juvenile. It doesn't really matter what they thought about it. What did I think about it? I was proud of the effort I'd made. I had a really great bonding time with my dad, creating it, making it, planning it. They were the things that I really was passionate about. And if other people don't like books or photography, or if other people think that, The Bachelor is a stupid TV show or whatever, they're entitled to feel that way. But it doesn't mean that I need to shift or change how I feel. I think sometimes, when we notice ourselves going into the shame spiral or the vulnerability hangover or the oversharing, it's just a moment to pause and go like, how do I think about this? Like, I absolutely love oracle cards. I have, a lot of people have, difference of opinions about them, and that is okay. But that doesn't change my love of it. Same as, fantasy or reading. Everybody is different. We all have times, like if we were to go to an event and someone's like spent a long time getting gussied up and prepared and did their makeup and their shoes and stuff, that's great. You do you. I personally would rather spend the extra hours reading and then make sure what I'm wearing is clean and my hair is brushed. But because I didn't go to the effort, I don't want to get into a shame spiral or spend a lot of time or money or energy investing in something that I don't really care about. So there's so many things to consider. There's so many layers. There's this, but what I really want to bring home with this episode is shame spirals are common. They happen to all of us. We all have a moment where we were excited about something and maybe laughed at or brought down, or people didn't get, or we weren't on the same wavelength. You'll get through it. Maybe, one day, 30 years later, it'll be part of your book or whatever. Or maybe if you do a podcast or a show, or maybe you don't even need to share it. But, I just want to normalize that it happens. It happens to everybody. And so many times I see people not sharing or not putting their work out there or not going for the promotion or not asking for what they really desire because they're worried about the reaction for others. Others are going to have reactions anyway. Just, you do you and let your freak flag fly and see what happens. Because for every person who does knock it, make fun of it, pull it down, how many people are cheering you on, excited? They might not be as vocal, they might not be as verbose, but there are people who are inspired by you doing what you do, whether or not they ever mention it or ever think to say anything to you about it. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. If you're not yet on my email list, head over to my website, suzannekolberg.com, click on the newsletter tab, or it might be under resources. You'll find it. I trust that you're savvy. I send an email about once a week. It's unique content, not just here's my podcast, because you're listening to that anyway. And being on my email list is the best place to get specials, behind the scene offers, as I said, unique content. If you think I get real and raw here on the podcast, just wait till you read my newsletter. Hope to see you on my list. Thanks for joining me. Catch you on the next one. Bye for now.